I just sat down and filmed my entire intro and my microphone was not on. Can you tell it's been a while since I filmed a video? And I'm feeling Hello Lemonheads and welcome back to the Lemonade Stand, or welcome if you are new. My name is Brianna. I'm a certified personal trainer, a big huge biology nerd, and a registered dietitian to be. We are gathered here today for the very first episode of a new series approved and commissioned by you all. A series in which I have combined my interest in true crime with my love and interest of science and health, which I have aptly named True Science. In this series, we sit down and we talk about true crime cases that are a little bit less well known. Doctors who turn out to be frauds, people who faked illnesses for fame, money, and recognition, criminal cases of medical fraud, and everything in between. Before we proceed, if you love science-based health, wellness, and fitness education with some lulz, and some dry sarcasm along the way, hit that subscribe button and join the Lemonade Stand. Queen Lemon would really love to have you here. Without further ado, let's make lemonade. But actually, I'm drinking coffee. Starbucks just dropped their their holiday drinks line, and I'm just all about it. This is the iced sugar cookie almond milk latte, but I have a mild allergy to tree nuts, so I swap out the almond milk for 2%, and this is just divine. Also, I have a gross band-aid on my finger because last week I ordered a new knife set, and you get it. So to recap as quickly as possible, the idea for this series was born from the video in which I told the compelling and thrilling story of when top Beachbody consultant Melissa McAllister threatened to sue me. Well, how did that video lead to this? I will tell you really quickly right now. So one thing Melissa McAllister is known for is sharing a lot of information in regard to like nutrition, food science, health, that sort of thing. This normally would not be an issue in my opinion anyway. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with sharing unbiased, evidence-based information. However, Miss McAllister is, in my opinion, often extremely biased. For example, promoting the use of diabetic medical supplies while she herself not being diabetic.
Okay, very exciting news. I got to go record a podcast, but when I was wearing that CGM, I got a ton of inquiries from you guys. And right now levels, it's in the beta phase, and they don't expect release probably till July, which probably means August. We all know how that goes. They have a 200,000 person wait list to get the CGMs and to be able to use the app. But they reached out to me because they saw my passion, and they gave me a link that allows you to bypass the 200,000 person wait list to get this. And so I want to offer to you, because I'm going to do it again as soon as I get back from France, and I want to do it with you. I can't tell you how profound the change is for you to see how food, specific food, and the order that you eat it, and the time of day that you eat it, and your exercise and your sleep affect your blood glucose. And so I have a link for you to get it and to bypass the huge wait list.
She is so damn considerate. Melissa McAllister has no degree from an accredited academic institution in the United States that would qualify her as a health, science, or nutrition professional. In fact, she actually didn't even finish college. However, in her Instagram profile, one title she gives herself is board certified nutritionist. When I was researching for my video when she threatened to sue me, I came to discover that her board certification is from a organization called the American Association of Drugless Practitioners, or AADP/ADP, they're also called some places. In that video, I fell down a freaking rabbit hole researching that organization, and I discovered that it's widely believed by many online publications to be a fraudulent diploma mill and accreditation mill. For those of you who don't know, a diploma mill is basically a situation where you can send money to someone somewhere, and they basically send you back any degree of your choice. Or in Melissa McAllister's case, in the case of the AADP, they sent her back a letter saying that she was a board certified practitioner, or I think the letter said something like that. So what does all that have to do with this Dr. Love guy that we're going to talk about today, Brie? Well, this fake doctor, at the time a teenager named Malachi Love Robinson, he had a bunch of fancy sounding degrees and certificates all on the walls of his medical practice. One of these was a board certification granted to him by none other than the AADP, the American Association of Drugless Practitioners. So all of that is how we got here. Also, I'm just really interested in true crime, and I also love science too, you guys know that. And in that video, I made a suggestion about combining the two things and making it into a series, and it was a resounding yes from so many of you in the comments. So here we go. The year 2015. The setting, St. Mary's Medical Center in West Palm Beach, Florida. A sprite young man in a lab coat bearing St. Mary's logo with a stethoscope around his neck was witnessed by many moseying through the hallways of the facility. Not only that, but according to some sources, he was even seen entering patient rooms and giving patients medical advice. The kicker? Well, this sprite young man was indeed not a physician, but in fact a 17-year-old child who was basically playing doctor. And not the sexy kind of doctor that you play with your husband when you drink too much, like actual doctor. Oh, I just want to add this. I mean, I know a lot of you probably don't care about this. I feel the lighting is a little bit weird. This is my very first time filming in a new house. For those of you who are new, my husband and I recently moved and bought a house, and this is my first time filming here. This is not going to be the final setup. I'm just kind of sitting here because I'm not even going to pan the camera over there. It's a disaster area over there. I'm still getting my office set up. There's just papers and books all over the place. This is where I'm going to be for the time being until I get like my filming space set up. So I know you guys probably don't care, but I just want to let you guys know. So anyway, some sources I found said that he claimed to be shadowing an OBGYN. Some sources I found said that he was claiming to be an OBGYN. In the ABC News report I found, when he was arrested, he was wearing a lab coat that said anesthesiologist. Either way, not a physician, and he had no business in those patients' business. Can we all take a minute to imagine what that looked like if he really did enter patients' rooms pretending to be an OBGYN?
All right, Meg, let's take a look at that vagina.
What do you know about vaginas, sir? As far as you're concerned, they're a bottomless pit which contain all your hopes and dreams. So anyway, all this is crazy, right? It went on for a full month. A full Florida month, which is longer than a regular month. I know, I've lived in Florida. You'd think something would have happened to him, right? Wrong. The medical facility, St. Mary's, they actually denied that he entered patient rooms and came into contact with patients despite witnesses saying otherwise. St. Mary's refused to press charges against him, and he was ultimately let off with a warning. A warning. Also, since he was a minor at the time of this incident, his name wasn't released to the public. So fast forward to later that year. This is so random. He somehow ended up working at a therapist at a rehab center in Boynton Beach, Florida. One source I came across said massage therapist. Some sources said that he was working with people recovering from drug addiction. He was later reported by someone anonymous because, yeah, he was unlicensed and had no business acting in this position, whatever position it was. So after that, he was found out and he was sent a cease and desist. No, not from Melissa McAllister. This one was from an organization bigger and arguably far more important. The Florida Health Department. Dun dun dun. Man, this poor kid just can't catch a break. He's just over here trying to pretend to play healthcare provider, and he has all these freaking people cramping his style. Rude. Okay, so all of that was just an appetizer. Get ready for the main course. Let me tell you guys about this guy. This fucking guy. Where's my pen? So this full timeline was kind of difficult to piece together for me given everything online, but based on what I could find, I believe it was in 2015, Malachi met this guy named Perseus Wells and they struck up a friendship. Now, I don't know what happened in between, but basically at some point, Malachi convinced Perseus to give him $10,000 to invest in his medical practice. One source I came across said that Malachi also apparently had $6,000 of his own, which I have to say, that's a nice little chunk of change for a 17 to 18-year-old to have. Maybe do something a little more productive with it than starting a fake medical practice. Now, I couldn't find a lot of background on this Perseus guy, but from what I could find, people have not been super compassionate toward him online. And after listening to some interviews that I found featuring Perseus, I can see why.
Believe this young man was a physician?
At the time, yes. You know, like I said, he pretty much is accused of not being one. I still don't know which is which. Is it true? Is it isn't true?
Well, but Perseus, he's 18. Yeah. It's impossible to get the sufficient training. It takes 8 years to get your license. And then you got to do post-grad training after that. So it's just impossible to do it by 18.
I'm going to do my best here to not come off as if I'm, like, blaming the victim. But it's going to be hard. So we don't know exactly what words were spoken. But Malachi basically had Perseus believing that he was a natural doctor, as Perseus put it.
He told me he was a natural doctor, so I don't know anything about natural doctor.
So I guess Perseus was not the least bit suspicious that this 18-year-old man-child was claiming to be a doctor. What the fuck, dude? Okay, so let's pretend at the time that Malachi was an actual doctor, okay? Taking into account the fact that medical school alone is 4 years. Remember, that's not even just med school, not even including residency or anything. Do you honestly believe that Malachi started medical school when he was 14 years old? I don't hear about this lately, but I've heard about kids before, like, you know, the super smart kids that always make the news, and they're graduating high school when they're like 14 or 13 years old or something like that. That's happened before. But This was not that. So at first, Perseus did say that he was suspicious of Malachi because, hello, he was f***ing 18 years old. Ultimately, he still went forward with the thing anyway and gave Malachi 10 grand. Now, this is important. One thing that led Perseus to believe that Malachi was legit was all of these fancy sounding degrees and certifications that Malachi had.
Now, with all his degrees and certifications, the thing is that I don't know anything about MD and all that. He told me he was a natural doctor, so I just took him at the word and seen all the certifications and his degree from some state, Arizona State, and transcripts from Arizona State, which were fraudulent, by the way. Malachi never attended Arizona State, and in the court documents for this case, Arizona State actually sent a letter to the investigator confirming this fact. He never went there. Perseus said that he was surprised when Malachi got arrested.
Were you surprised when he was arrested?
Was I? Oh, yeah. I was very surprised.
I just can't believe that this Perseus guy invested 10 grand into this medical practice for which Perseus claimed that he was only physically there in the building, quote, once in a while, end quote.
So I don't know who these patients are. They definitely weren't in our, didn't come into the practice at all, even though I know I was partially there just once in a while, but.
And he said he never saw patients there when he was there. One thing he did say, though, was that apparently he was of the understanding that they were going to bring MDs in on the team to work in the practice. Why would you think a child would be capable of that? What kind of pull does he think this kid had? I don't know what exactly Malachi said to Perseus, but I have to imagine it was very convincing. I'm just baffled by Perseus's lack of due diligence on this. You strike up a relationship with an 18-year-old. He convinces you he's a natural doctor, and you decide without any research at all into his credentials that you're just gonna give him $10,000? At no point did you think to hop on Google and look him up a little bit more before you handed him 10 grand? I would just love to know what Malachi said to Perseus to convince him to make all of this happen. That kid could probably sell water to a fish. So at this point, Malachi has some scratch to start up his new endeavor. And now we have the New Birth, New Life Medical Center and Urgent Care.
This is the New Birth, New Life Medical Center. Brand new.
Malachi Love Robinson gave a local news station a guided tour of the examination rooms at his clinic.
Malachi had set up shop in this building, which was a commercial building, and it actually held other legitimate medical practices. He ended up hiring a couple of employees, an operations director and a programs director. I'm not sure if they knew the truth about him, like his real background, that he wasn't like a natural doctor or any kind of doctor, but I'm assuming that he probably kind of, I guess, more or less misled them the way that he had also misled Perseus. He also established a website for his medical practice and a Facebook page too. And look at that headshot. All right, show of hands. How many of you ladies would swipe right? Anyone? No one? Yeah, me neither. Let's move on. So the New Birth, New Life Medical Center was not in business long when an 86-year-old woman named Anita Morrison came across them via an internet search. She was looking for a doctor because she was having some stomach pains that she was just, struggling with. So she wanted to find, a doctor. So she gave them a call and spoke directly to Dr. Love. Remember, because his last name is Love Robinson. So he appropriately called himself Dr. Love. I'm not even gonna lie. If I were born with the last name Love, I would earn a doctorate degree. It doesn't even matter what it's in. I just want to be called Dr. Love. Missed opportunity on this kid's part to just actually earn a doctorate degree just to be able to be called Dr. Love. Like, how cool is that? Love that. So anyway, Anita Morrison spoke to Dr. Love and he agreed to come, Dr. Love, sorry. And he agreed to come to her home for a house call. Great. Love that for her. Except he's not a real doctor. So over the course of a few weeks, Malachi had gone out to Miss Morrison's house 4 times. He had diagnosed her with arthritis, despite none of her actual doctors ever diagnosing her with it. He examined her and determined he could treat her stomach pain with valerian and melatonin, which are dietary supplements that anyone can purchase at a drugstore and are known to help with sleep. So one of these times when Dr. Love was at Miss Morrison's house. When he arrived, she was experiencing so much pain when he got there. He actually recommended that they call 911, to get her to a real Dr. Love was just like alone in her house. And this is when investigators believe he stole several checks from her, ultimately stealing from Miss Morrison to a tune of over $34,000. So remember the story about Miss Morrison. Keep it on ice. We're going to come back to it in a little bit. So I presume that as all this was going on, remember I did say that timelines were a little bit hard to piece together given all the information, so I'm doing my best. As all this stuff with Miss Morrison was just happening, the New Birth, New Life Center has been open and in operation. People are becoming skeptical and suspicious of Malachi's little medical practice. At this point, the local news, WPBF 25, caught wind of his shenanigans and went to his office. They were onto him because they knew he was only 18 and they knew about his little stunt at St. Mary's the previous year. So they showed up to say, what's up? And this cocky little shit was so full of himself. He actually agreed to be interviewed while they were there, but he was shaken like a leaf. He was taking off his lab coat, he took off his stethoscope, and at one point asked if they could turn the cameras off.
You've got a lot of sites online, all claiming that you're a doctor.
Well, no, they don't claim medical doctor, as I am aware of. If you could stop recording, please. I would like that.
He did later say that he could turn the cameras back on, though. Ultimately, he did invite them back, I think the day or after or something like that, at a later time to show them around, like so he could show them his practice.
If you could stop recording, please. I would like that.
Love Robinson a few minutes later said we could start recording again, and he asked us to come back for a second interview, which we did.
This is the New Birth, New Life Medical Center. Brand new. We've just gotten everything done and ready and started.
State records show the 18-year-old licensed his business with the state.
This time he was not wearing his lab coat, though, which apparently people said he wore very frequently. He clearly knew what he was doing, too, because there was actually a point in the interview where the reporter goes to his office door and peels back a little white sticker by his name, under which was covering two very, very important little letters. M. D. Throughout their interview, I personally found him to be very evasive. At one point, he did say that he had 2 PhDs.
I was aware that some people were actually concerned. I was aware and sometimes I consider it a little bit of ignorance. I've done a lot of, Christian training and, theology and science. And, I have done some alternative medicine courses and things of that nature, which I have been certified by 2 boards to do. Mm-hmm. So, I have gained some board certifications and things, and I would never portray myself as an MD. I have no reason to.
But you do call yourself Dr. Robinson.
Yes, because I do have a PhD.
In what?
I have a PhD in holistic and alternative medicine, as well as I have a PhD in science and theology.
To get your PhD, don't you have to go to college? Don't you need some...
That is true, and yes, but there are many different paths. You might have a seat?
No. But have you gone to college, Malachi?
I have, yes.
Which college did you go to?
I've gone to 2 colleges.
Which ones?
I'm not comfortable disclosing their names.
Did you graduate?
Yes, I did.
How old are you, Malachi?
I am 19 years old.
I'm truly envious of this level of confidence. I couldn't even fake this. So about a month into his practice being open, he had an appointment with the patient. It was a day just like any other. Patient comes in to see the doc. Dr. Love took her blood pressure, took her weight, listened to her lungs. I presume they made other the random patient-doctor small talk. And then bam! Cops kick down the door, storm the building, and then just start throwing punches, man. Okay, that's probably not exactly how it happened, but the cops did show up and arrest him. So that patient that I was just talking about was actually an undercover police officer, and they had set up this entire sting operation. This is how Malachi ultimately got busted. According to one source I found, the cops were actually tipped off by the Florida State Health Department after they got an anonymous letter from someone who signed it, a concerned citizen. Well, concerned citizen, you were the real MVP. So he was busted, and he was escorted out of his little doctor's office by the cops, maintaining his innocence throughout all of this, by the way. Man, he's in the wrong fake career. Just the way he's so confident when he's clearly caught in this elaborate lie. He should be a politician, honestly. So ultimately, Malachi was arrested for practicing medicine without a license and unlicensed practice of healthcare profession. Yay, the justice system! Then he posts bail for $21,000. I've also seen other sources say $18,000. Either way, it was a lot of money. And then he was released on bail. Boo, the justice system. So after he was released on bond, he actually held a news conference in which he spoke for himself, in which he said he was, quote, deeply saddened and a little disrespected by some of the things that have come forth. This guy needs to just be a politician. He also asked for prayers, and he said that people should, quote, stop worrying about bashing someone and start lifting them up. Is this guy in an MLM? Is that not exactly what an MLM rep would say when confronted with facts that obviously don't confirm their bias? This lighting is so weird. I'm sorry if it's weird. The gaslighting, the delusion. I'm torn. I don't know if he should be in politics or join a pyramid scheme, really. So after he's released on bond, he agrees to sit down with ABC News for an interview. During the interview, Malachi was questioned on his background, his education, credentials, etc. At one point, when asked if he was a doctor of anything, Malachi said he did hold a PhD, but didn't feel comfortable disclosing what it was in, which is weird because he disclosed it in that other interview with that reporter that he had at his office the other day. The whole thing is just super weird and uncomfortable to watch. He's spouting obvious lies, which are very easy to disprove, but he speaks with such confidence and conviction that I really believed that he believes his lies. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's delusional, or maybe he's just incredibly arrogant. I don't know. Either way, it's just weird and I don't like it. So eventually Malachi became agitated and ends the interview after the interviewer straight up asked him if he's a fraud. Malachi said, quote, I don't appreciate your tone, end quote. And he also went on to say, quote, I don't know where you are receiving this information from, but it is inaccurate. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to cut this interview short, end quote. Then he pulled off his mic and stormed off. So at some point, other charges were filed against him for fraud and for stealing money from Ms. Morrison. Remember Ms. Morrison? Yeah, he fried for that too. So ultimately, the stuff that was revealed in the trial was insane. Like, bonkers. I'm not gonna go too deep, but I do want to talk about some of it. Primarily how this kid fooled so many people into thinking he was legit when he wasn't. So the investigator on this case, her name was Carla Sutherland, and she dug up some shit. I'm also on this case too, but they just didn't put my name on the report. For starters, despite his adamant denial, it was determined that he definitely did present himself as a medical doctor, which, in case you didn't know, is a crime if you're not one. In the report, the investigator found that Malachi was, quote, holding himself out as and leading the public to believe he is a medical doctor and engaged in the practice on the following websites, end quote. Then the report went on to name all the websites where he had his, I guess I would call like his, I don't know, his medical profile or something listed in there, including the Facebook page for his practice, the New Birth New Life Medical Center, and his personal Facebook page. I can't believe no one on his personal Facebook page called him on his BS. That's so crazy to me. Another thing was that he claimed that he was a naturopathic doctor and he earned his degree from the Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine and Health Sciences. So Carla Sutherland, doing her job, hit them up and spoke to the associate registrar to get verification of this. Later that day, the associate registrar got back to Miss Sutherland and confirmed that Malachi had never attended this school. So, really quick sidebar about that. In 1957, the state of Florida actually passed certain legislation which actually stopped licensing authority of naturopathy. In a few states in the US, Florida included, it's actually illegal to practice naturopathic medicine. After 1957, if you were a naturopath who already held a license, you could continue to be licensed, but no new licenses were issued. So based on that information, even if Malachi's defense was, well, I'm not saying I'm a medical doctor, I'm saying I'm a natural doctor or a naturopathic doctor or whatever, still illegal in your state, buddy. Then comes the AADP. Remember them? The American Association of Drugless Hoo-Ha? Remember where Melissa McAllister's board certification is from? Oh my God, Brianna, why do you keep bringing that up? You're so petty. Yes, I am. I tend to get that way when people threaten my First Amendment rights. So Carla Sutherland contacts Donald Rosenthal, the guy in charge of the AADP in Texas. And she asks to see the specific documents that Malachi sent to them to be able to earn his quote-unquote board certification. So Rosenthal sent Miss Sutherland copies of what looked like official transcripts from the Southwest College of Natural Medicine, but at that point, Sutherland already knew that these were fraudulent, a farce, a sham, a bamboozle. Rosenthal also confirmed some of the other documents that he sent her. He said that they were school transcripts and certificates from the Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine, which remember he never attended, and also from Arizona State, where he also never attended. Arizona State also sent verification to Carla Sutherland confirming that he never even went there either. So to recap real quick here, this child, the 18-year-old, Malachi Love Robinson, sent the AADP fraudulent transcripts and certificates, and they still awarded him board certification, which he then hung proudly on the walls of his medical practice. So a few days after this, Rosenthal then sent Sutherland 2 faxes which were addressed to Malachi, and these both said that because Malachi had sent the AADP fraudulent documents, his board certification and membership to the AADP was, quote, null and void, end quote. To me, this seems like Rosenthal was like, oh shit. I gave this 18-year-old board certification after he sent me a bunch of fake transcripts and a bunch of fake paperwork. I gotta fix this. I think this move to rescind Malachi's board certification was just Rosenthal backpedaling big time. I think he was just trying to cover his own ass, and that's my opinion. So that was just a few details that came about from some of the court documents from that case. So what was the aftermath of all of this? Dr. Love finally faced some real goddamn consequences. On January 4th, 2018, he was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for practicing medicine without a license, as well as several other fraud charges, including those for which he stole from Miss Morrison. He was sentenced to 3.5 years, but he only actually served about 21 months, because by the time he was sentenced, he got credit for time served while he was awaiting trial. So that time served ultimately took time off of his final 3.5-year sentence. I personally have always had issues with that whenever that happens. I think depending on the nature of the crime, I think getting credit for time served should not always be allowed. But that's just one dumb girl's opinion. He was released from prison for these crimes in September of 2019. So that was that. Or was it? This was not the last we would see from Dr. Love. In January 2021, Malachi was arrested again on charges of grand theft and fraud after he was accused of stealing more than 10 grand from his employer, which was a shipping company in Delray Beach. I wonder if he used that money to pay back Perseus. I doubt it. So according to the arrest report, he diverted most of that amount straight from customers to his own private bank accounts. Hours after being arrested for this, he posted bail and was released. So at this point in time, he's, I think, 23, 24? I mean, at the time of this 2021 arrest, yeah, so I mean, well, that was only not that long ago. So yeah, 23, 24 years old, I think. This guy is straight up a career criminal, in my opinion. But he's not good at it because he keeps getting caught. I would imagine a criminal is only good at crimes if they don't get caught, right? I didn't even bring up everything here. There was another arrest. That one was also, I think, back in 2016. And it had something to do with him attempting to buy a Jaguar, the car. He was going to use an elderly co-signer, but the co-signer apparently had no idea what was going on. In conclusion, all right, so let's sum up this first episode of True Science. I'm a big fan of true crime. Yes, it can get very dark, but I think the stories of victims need to be told. But I also think that the stories of perpetrators are important as well. I know that might sound weird. I'm not trying to give them credit or give them like fame, but I feel like it's important to know the criminal's history too. Why are people the way they are? What has driven people to behave this way? What makes people turn into monsters? It can actually help you, the person who's watching this video, who's just trying to live their life, know what to spot and be more alert and cautious in your day-to-day. Part of the reason I'm so vigilant now is because of my interest in true crime. I genuinely believe that it has helped me become more aware of my surroundings, and I'm very wary of every stranger I meet, quite frankly. But something to remember is that true crime is not just murder and serial killers. True crime is stuff like the story I've told you here today. It's such a shame that this guy Malachi took advantage of people, stole from people, misled people, but I am glad he was caught before anyone got seriously injured. He was masquerading around as a medical doctor, or so the courts ultimately found, despite his denial. Do you know how many people could have gotten hurt had law enforcement not intervened when they did? And what's worse is that he actually looked legit to so many people. So much so that he was even able to fool the state of Florida and get a national provider number for his medical practice. This is an identification number from a medical provider to be able to receive money from Medicare and Medicaid patients. This is why in my videos when I share like these big figures in social media who share information in like the health and wellness space, I always try to talk about their credentials and research their background. There are so many BS organizations out there where anyone can pay money, take a few online classes or no classes at all, and then just get a certificate with their name on it, thus making them look legitimate. Unfortunately, because so many people don't know what to look for, they can fall for what these gurus say, get led astray, and may even get hurt. Make sure the people that you're getting your information from, or even the doctor you're going to, make sure they're legit. Research credentials, don't be afraid to ask questions. Make sure they're educated from an accredited and legitimate organization. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. That concludes episode 1 of of my new series, True Science. Let me know if you liked this episode, if you didn't like it, tell me why you didn't like it, what did you love, what did you hate. If there's a story or a situation you guys want to see me talk about, drop a comment below and let me know. In the meantime, thank you so very much for watching. Like if you enjoyed this, hit the subscribe button for more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Queen Lemon, over and out. You guys went to see the other side of the office, which I didn't show you. Dun dun dun. This is so bad. Just a mess. I need to work on organizing. But you guys don't care about that. You guys care about seeing dogs. Right now, I have Onyx and Zeus in here. Onyx, say hi before the camera overheats. You're such a handsome boy. Look at this old man. Zeus. New booby. Zeus. There he is. Oh my goodness, what a big stretch. You guys sit? Okay, yeah, you can lay down. You guys want to tell everybody about yesterday? Onyx and Zeus went to daycare yesterday for the first time in a really long time.